Well, hello and welcome to the Edgewood 4G podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Parks, the discipleship pastor here at the church, and we are privileged to have Mr. Ed Kuriscak with us, our senior adults pastor, and Ed has been here for, get this, longer than I have been alive.
Is that right?
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. So what are you at now? How many years?
In a couple months it'll be 45.
45 years.
Then I'll be starting my 46th.
Wow. And you're still going strong.
Well, not as strong. So
maybe slow down just a little.
A little bit.
Little bit.
Yeah.
So Ed started out as the youth pastor here at Edgewood, and then you took over senior adults ministry quite a few years back. Mm-hmm. And then now you just recently went part-time.
Correct.
And so, I wanted to talk to Ed today and just get a sense of ministry over the years here at Edgewood, how things have changed, a little bit of history, but just tell us about your experience, Ed, what it's been like here at Edgewood.
Well, to be honest with you, it's been a really good experience. Good. I mean, to be in one place for that long.
Right.
I remember getting a phone call, I believe it was like in March of 1979, hey, got your name, would you be interested in being a youth pastor? And I listened to him, and I said, no, not really. And so
but God had other plans.
He goes, are you sure? I said, yeah, I don't think so. And so, that was the end of that. I went to...
what were you doing at the time?
I was a grad student at Faithway Baptist College in Michigan. And so then I'm in the middle of teaching a class, and the president sticks his head in the door, and he says, hey, when you get done with class, and he said hi to all the students. He said, hey, come and see me. Uh-huh. So I went and saw him afterwards and didn't think much of it. And he goes, hey, what's happening, man? And any doors opening up, anything happening? And, I know you want to do this, and I know you want to go there, but have they contacted you? And I said, no, but some guy called me and asked me if I wanted to be a youth pastor. What'd you tell him? I said, no. Really? You told him no?
So someone's basically offering you a job, and you're just, no thanks.
Yeah, I said, no thanks, And so he said, so you're telling me you didn't even look through the door? You think maybe God could have opened that door and you didn't look through the door? And I was like, oh, man, did I do something
wrong?
What
have I done?
Yeah. And I said, you think I ought to go back and find his number? And it was already in the trash. And so I said, you think I ought to...
You moved on quickly.
Should I go back and find it? He goes, I don't know. So to be honest with you, when I left his office, I was feeling heat right here. Yeah. It's all red. And I felt like I walked under the door on the way out, Mm-hmm. And so I ran home, got the phone number, called up Mel Brown and said, hey, I was rethinking. He goes, well, what changed your mind? I said, well, I just rethought it. I wasn't going to be honest about it. I wasn't going to go through it. Uh-huh. So, hey, my wife and I came out here, and in April, he offered me the position, and we moved here in July of 1979 and been here ever since. And so I started out with youth ministry, but then with youth ministry came the bus ministry. With that came Awana.
A host of other things.
With that also, I was over making sure that junior church was taken care of, and that means I needed to go down and do junior church at times. And,
so you're saying, Ed, that you wore several hats?
I don't like using that several hats thing. I don't like
true.
it. But yeah, it had a number of different responsibilities. Yeah. And so I kind of grew into it. And then, doing youth work back then, what I really appreciated, I had probably started out with 60 kids in a high school, just in the high school. Okay. And then junior high was always like 25, 30. But then, it slowly but surely grew, and I had 13 high schools represented in my youth group,
wow.
And so, and then I did a number of things with some churches of like mind, but none of them had youth pastors, and so it was kind of a struggle because I didn't think the pastors really kind of knew what to do with their teenagers, and stuff like that. And then I ran into a guy by the name of Rick Smith at First Evangelical Free Church in Moline, and so I got to know him, and we started hanging out and doing some stuff together. And so I went to the senior pastor. I said, hey, listen, I met this guy, and hey, I think I'm going to like it. So then he introduced me a whole bunch of guys, and then, hey, by the time, as time rolled around, we had 20 youth pastors. We were putting on events, and we had, a large group events with kids, and then, we had the opportunity to do a number of things. Like, for example, one year we put on a parenting conference.
Okay. And
that was pretty cool because we hired Ron Hutchcraft, who was on Moody Radio. We had him come in, and he was a speaker, and then he was going to be a main speaker in the evening to the teenagers. But during the day, we rented Augustana's auditorium, and had 1,200 parents there for that conference. And
that's huge.
So it was a big deal, and so we had a guy by the name of Paul Clark Warren, who was he was a pediatrician. Now he's a behavioral pediatrician from Minnetonka down in Dallas, and we hired him. And then we had someone from, to be honest with you, we had somebody from the Assembly of Gods that was on the same wavelength as Focus on the Family, and because they came to us and they said, hey, if you expect us to show, man, you better have somebody from our crowd. You know? And so hey, we did. So we had. It was great opportunity, great partnership, and so we've had, and so through the years we had all of that, and then there came a day when Pastor Brown came to me and he goes, "Hey man, I'm thinking maybe you ought to go to the senior adults," and
that's quite the change.
Well, I was wondering if my two youngest boys went to him and kind of said, "Hey, get rid of our dad, man. We're tired of our dad. I mean, he's with us all the time,
He couldn't get away.
Yeah. So he offered me that, and so.
So what year was that?
That's probably 24 years ago. So, if you do the math if you want, but it's about 24 years ago.
Close to 2000.
So, so maybe, 2001. And
so before we move on to the senior adults ministry, what that has been like what differences have you seen in youth ministry over the last 24 plus years? I mean, what was it like back in the 80s and 90s?
Back in the 80s and 90s, there had to be a lot of activities, I mean, for example, if we did an all-night event, we had 3-on-3 basketball, we had volleyball, we had a movie.
So you do stuff to draw these kids in.
Yeah, exactly, to draw them in and then try to capture them. And then, the other thing, too, is that on Wednesday nights, I had youth group on Wednesday nights, and one Wednesday night a month, I would take them. I would recruit volunteers, and I would have them go visit shut-ins.
Nice, that's so good.
And no, it was a good experience because it helped them to realize there are people out there that they want to talk to somebody.
Yep.
And so that was, and that kind of helped me because that's kind of where I was going to end up anyways, and so, but dealing with teenagers back in that day and age, I didn't have, what was nice, I didn't have the competition of phones. And so
that's a huge change.
Yeah, it's a huge change. The other thing too is that sports was a big deal, back then. The other thing too is I loved working with junior hires. I mean, they were really, when we had a junior high retreat or something like that, it was always fun because the kids were interactive. They were a little squirrely, but you know what? They hadn't developed an attitude.
Right, I was going to say, they're not quite as moody yet.
Yeah, right, and you could have a lot of fun with them, and you could speak into their lives. And see, the tough thing is the most effective years to minister to kids, I thought, were 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. And then when you got to 11th and 12th grade, they started withdrawing because of the fact that, hey, they want a car.
There's a lot more competition.
Yeah, exactly. Then they got to put gas in the car. They got to pay for the insurance and stuff like that. And parents are kind of like, some parents are like, hey, if you want this, you're going to have to do that.
Yeah.
And so things changed. So I just feel like, and then, we had taken them, like, I know that you take the teens out to big excursions where they have special speakers to challenge them and stuff like that. And we did the same thing. We'd go to youth for Christ events,
big conferences,
conferences and stuff like that. And so that was good. But then when Pastor Brown asked me to transition to senior adults, I was like, okay, and what do you want me to take care of? And we kind of ferreted all that out, and it's been. Somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, what's the difference between dealing with youth and dealing with senior adults?"
That's a good question.
And I said, not a whole lot, except senior citizens, if they appreciate you, they'll thank you.
Right. Not so much the other way.
Yeah, right.
The younger ones.
Right. Well, they take and run. And I understand that.
They might come back years later and tell you that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that, because I wouldn't want to hurt anybody's feeling out there that is listening to this and say, but Ed, I thanked you. I thanked you,
Well, and the cool thing is you got to probably be a part of a lot of milestones, seeing them grow up, from graduations to weddings to them having children. I mean, how many weddings do you think you've done over the years? I mean, any estimation there?
Under 100.
Okay.
Under 100.
It's still a lot, though.
Yeah, under 100, And so, but, with senior citizens, what they do, here's what I do. I have a Sunday school class.
Mm-hmm.
And
growth group,
Sunday school class, and it meets in the morning, and I have, on average, just under 50, and so I draw from probably about 80, and so that's every weekend, and then every other weekend, every other Thursday we do a luncheon, and we're back up to pre-COVID numbers. So we've been having.
Last week was the biggest one I'd ever seen.
Well, it was about 102 there, and then the week before there was 196. The week before that was almost 200, and then 160 something before that. And so that's a great time of fellowship. Number one, there's good fellowship. There's good food. There's always good music. We always have a speaker to challenge them, to encourage them. And there's people that attend it that aren't saved. There are saved people that know Christ, but yet they're challenged in their faith. But the other thing, too, is that there are people that come to it, and some of them go to real solid churches, but then some of them don't go to church at all. And so it's a good on-ramp for Edgewood. And so
how many of them do you think are there just for Marty Mills?
That's hard.
He cracks me up.
That's hard to say.
He cracks me up. I always stick around just to hear from Marty.
Marty's always got something smart to say, and so, but at least he lets everybody know that he's married.
Right. You got to do that.
Yeah, that's
right. Got to keep the older ladies away. So
I'm not even touching that.
Oh yeah, right.
I'm not touching that.
So talk to me a little bit about with Ed when it comes to, I guess, longevity of ministry. How were you able to stay at one church for 45 years and counting?
There's probably a couple of things.
Yeah.
The issue is that you come to love the people that are there. The other thing, too, is that you learn how to deal with the ups and downs of ministry. So like Pastor Brown used to say, never quit on a Monday. Never quit on a Monday. No. Something happens on a Sunday, you're like, I'm out of here.
Sure.
But then he said, hey, take 2 days, and by Wednesday you'll be feeling okay.
All right.
You'll be feeling better. And you know what? That's true. There's a 2-day rule. He always said that's a 2-day rule. Yeah. And so that's something. And then the other thing, too, is that you fall in love with these people, and you care about them. You have, just like you said, you see their babies are born, and then they grow up, and then you have the opportunity maybe to do their weddings, and then you see them, and now all of a sudden you're seeing them and their kids and teenagers. And then the other thing, too, that was a really good experience is that my kids grew up here, and, they weren't harassed. They weren't messed with.
They were treated well.
Yeah, thank you. They were treated very well, and so.
And that's not always the case, because I grew up as a pastor's kid, and you hear stories or perhaps experience things yourself.
Well, I'm sure they had a few experiences,
Sure.
but the issue is, for the most part, they don't have bad memories, and all of them are attending church with their families, and two of mine are highly involved here, and then my son, who's up in Minnesota, is attending faithfully, and so the other thing too is this, that we have other ministries like we have Todd Stanger does a class on divorce care. If people have gone through that, and then he encourages them to take it twice, because while they're taking it, they might go off on field trips, in their mind about something that happened, and it does a real good job. And then we've got Grief Share, and it's a fact of life. People pass away, and people grieve. And then not only that, one day I had a gal come up to me, and Marcy Concusin. She goes, "Hey, do you have a Alzheimer's dementia support group?" I said, "No, but would you like to start one?" She said, "Yes."
Well, there you go.
And so, it's been great, because it's helped people deal with what they're dealing with, and this person's tried this, it didn't work, this person tried it and it worked, and so those are just some of the things that
being a
we have.
That's hard.
It is.
Very hard.
It's a real struggle at times. So
you need to know they're not alone through that.
Yeah. And so senior ministry, it's going to be around for a while. I mean, So
absolutely,
and youth ministry is going to be around for a while.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
And college. Sure. So those are all ministries here at Edgewood that we, have the opportunity to speak into the lives of people and help them realize that God's there, He cares, and there's ups and downs in life. And David, he says, "Hey, when when you're in the valley, I'll be right there alongside of you." Yeah. And so we have to remember that. And so that's a lot of good stuff.
It's good wisdom. So Ed, you've seen a lot of changes over the years, being here 40 plus years, and saw the transition from Pastor Brown to Pastor Brian. And so how was that for you, and that experience too?
Well, that was a good experience.
That's been about 10 years.
Yeah, it's a little over 10 years. It's about it'll almost be 11 years here in a couple months. And so, but when Pastor Brown decided to retire, they came to me and asked me if I would be the interim for 6 months. And then I think we already had kind of Brian in our sights, and so then when he came, it was pretty seamless.
Good.
And because it was a good fit for us. And then when I saw Brian's resume, I was like, "Hey, we need to get this guy." And so, like, why do we need to get this guy? Because he worked for Ray Pritchard, man. He worked for Ray Pritchard. He was under his ministry.
Yeah.
And I had discovered Ray years ago on the internet.
So you already knew about him.
Oh, yeah, I knew about him. And so he had this little thing on the internet called the Bible Bus, and so and then he would post these guys that were great expositors, Oh, I'm Dave. Am I hitting this table like I'm not supposed to? Yeah, I'm a little loud. And so he had put a list of them, and I'd go to those websites and I'd go, "Oh, that's a great message, man. I'm gonna use that one," and stuff like that. And then, but Ray had great messages himself, and I thought, man, if he was mentored under Ray, this is a great fit. And when he sat down, and what was interesting is the first time we ever sat down with Brian, he had dossiers on all of us. You believe that? I'm like, what in the world? Dossiers on each one of us. And so he's going over them with us and everything. But then what was interesting is that when Pastor Tim, we all got in the van, we were coming back, and he said, "Hey, did you notice something? Did you notice how he wanted to celebrate this, and he celebrated that, and celebrated this?" And he goes, "That's really good stuff, And hey, he continues to celebrate that and celebrate this.
That's encouraging.
And so, yeah, it is. And it's encouraging to our people, And then, hey, he's done a great job of preaching the word. And, to be honest with you, he hasn't preached a bad message yet.
There you go.
And I'm not looking for anything, Brian. I don't need anything. I'm okay. So.
That's good. So you're involved with, you mentioned Ray Pritchard and Keep Believing Ministries. What's your involvement there with that ministry now?
I'm on the board, and I'm just there. Man.
You're just there.
I just get, and it's every
You're
once
the
in a while-
voice of wisdom.
Every once
at
in
the
a
table?
while, I'll throw an idea out that works.
And they're like, "That's a good one."
No, it is. It is. So
That's great, man.
yeah, it's good ministry.
So what year did your wife Sheila come on board?
Well, to be honest with you, Sheila, she came with, and when she came with, she was always involved on Sunday morning in some ministries.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably after being here, I don't know how long, I had a youth pastor friend at another church, and he said, "Hey, I hear your wife's got a master's degree in education." I said, "Yes, she does." He said, "Do you think she'd want to come over here and be the CE director?" And I said, "Well, what would it involve? Because she needs to be here at this time
Right.
to do this." And he goes, "Oh, we could work around that."
Oh my word!
And so
They saw the value in her.
Hey, she got hired. She was at First United Presbyterian in Moline for 5 years.
Okay.
And what was great is she worked with Pastor Vic Varconi, and Vic really helped her process how to deal with church leaders, how to get things done. And so that was a great experience. And then after she had been there for about 5 years, Pastor Brown went to her and he said, "Don't you think it's time that you came home?" And so she came, she came back. And the nicest thing about her coming here was I didn't have to oversee Awana anymore. She could take Awana. She took it on, and she's loved it ever since. She spends all day Wednesday here prepping for Awana.
Yeah.
So
she's been on for 20 plus years.
Oh yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's great.
So
So what do you like to do, Ed, in your in your free time? Especially, I mean, now you might have a little bit more because you're supposedly part-time, right? Is that what they say? You're part-time
That's
now?
what they're saying.
That's what they're saying.
That's
So what do you
they're
like to
saying.
do in your time off?
You
and
know,
what do you enjoy?
right now I'm going out and I'm trying to walk try 4 or 5 miles a day,
Nice.
Or maybe every other day,
That's a lot of steps.
So it is a lot of steps, and thank you for the Fitbit, and so, and then, I'll go have lunch with a couple of guys that, and I'll hang out with them a little bit,
You do some discipleship with some guys.
Yeah, and so, and then, hey, there's things that have been neglected over the years in a home that need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And so I'm slowly
You're
but surely
working on those projects.
Yeah, and it's not a honey-do list. It's just a list that, hey, this hasn't been taken care of, and this hasn't been taken care of, and so we're starting to take care of that,
And you have quite a few grandkids.
Yeah, we do. I want to invest in my grandkids. I have a granddaughter at Moody right now. And I just had one turn 17, and they're getting ready to go on a spring break out in Virginia. And she went, "Hey, we're going to go to Liberty University and look over the university." I was like, "Woo, where your mom and dad went to school. That'd be interesting."
Where they met.
Yeah. So I wonder, they've already seen all the key places that, so, but anyways, they're gonna go out there and do that. And then, we'd love to travel a little bit more up to Minnesota to see the other 3 grandkids, to invest in their lives. And so, and what's tough is I got a 7-year-old, and he's all excited about us coming, And so then like the day before we leave, he's crying, "I don't want you to go. I don't want you to go," So
That's how it goes.
It's all good.
And you also go up to the north portion of the United States of America, way up north.
Well, I enjoy. My brother lives in Alaska, and he worked for Fish and Games for 27 years, and I've gone hunting with him 5 times, and he just called me up and said, "Hey, man, we're going up to. I got
You got the call. It's time again.
He got a tag, and he said, well, I want to go up to. It's for the Yukon this time." And so I thought, whoa. So I said, "Hey, we'll see if that's a possibility." But I enjoy fishing on the side, but I really enjoy fishing with my son Micah, because my son Micah knows how to tie the line real quick rather than me. I'd be there 10 minutes tying the line, and he's just, "Here, Dad, let me do this for you." So.
And you've led, I know you like traveling, so you've led a few trips with Jared Hall to Israel.
Yeah, we've with the seniors, and see, this is what's coming up next year. We're looking at a trip to go in the steps of Paul, and we'll go to Turkey, we'll go to Greece, and we'll go to Rome. And so that's kind of in the works right now. And then after that, if things cool down,
I've heard rumors, but
if things cool down, we'll go to, and so that'll be in 25. And if things cool down in 26, we'll go to Israel.
Okay.
So those are some things we're looking forward to.
Love to hear it, man. Yeah. You've got a lot of stuff on your list of things.
Yeah, and then hey, listen, I'm gonna where are we going this year on a missions trip?
We're going to Belize. Ed's coming.
Yeah, I'm coming. My wife's coming. My 3 grandkids are going. My daughter-in-law's going.
That might be the trip of a lifetime for you.
Quentin Waterman's going, man. Yep. He's got a work crew, man. And so I said, well, I'm going to be on that work crew with you, Quentin.
You're going to jump on the work crew?
I am. I think I'm going to well, we'll see. A couple of days, maybe. He wants me to push some men around.
Okay. Yeah, we got 32 going on this trip, and several pastors and wives, so it's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, thanks so much for joining us today,
this has been so enjoyable.
I know you've had a great time. And we didn't have to twist your arm at all to get you up here, but we kept it short and sweet, and now you can go on doing the things that you love to do.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to the mall and put 4 miles in.
Oh, my word. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us today on the Edgewood 4G podcast. If you do us a favor and share this episode, and just leave us a rating and review on the audio podcast. It helps us to get it out there to more people. We want to just keep put some good content out there for you all. But thanks so much once again for joining. We'll see you next time.